Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, retail theft is something that is not isolated to the Central Valley. This is something that we are seeing an increase across the state. These brazen robberies are things we are seeing on the news. Perhaps it's something you've seen in person. What happened in Southern California over the weekend at a mall, where a flash mob of individuals ransacked at a department store, took more than $300,000 of merchandise. Folks, that is completely unacceptable. That is not something that we're going to stand by. It's time to hold these people accountable. The CHP has a plan in place to hold people accountable. I'd like to share that with you. Retail theft is not an issue that is, as I mentioned, that's isolated to the Central Valley. The public has an expectation to go to the public and shop with their families without experiencing lawlessness. As such, the California Highway Patrol, along with allied agencies from across the state, is dedicated to investigating these reprehensible crimes. Our investigators throughout the state will work tirelessly to identify, apprehend, and submit for prosecution those individuals who are victimizing our communities. I know this is something that is important to the public. I know this is something that is important to the Commissioner of the Highway Patrol, Commissioner Sean DeRee. It's important to me. I can tell you this is something that is very important to the Governor of the state of California, and that's Governor Newsom. I'm pleased to announce that Governor Newsom has provided additional funding and resources to the California Highway Patrol so that we can establish retail theft task forces throughout the state of California. In fact, in 2019, since then, we have recovered nearly 330,000 items of value that have totaled more than $30 million. We have been part of investigations, participated in investigations, more than 1,800 of them. We've arrested more than 1,260 individuals for retail theft. That too is good police work. I'm also pleased to announce that the governor has expanded funding to the local law enforcement agencies for an astounding $85 million to help the local agencies investigate and deter and disrupt retail theft crimes from occurring. That's good news, folks. So our message to you today is very simple, and I want to deliver a personal message. Our message is that the CHP is committed to continuous collaboration with not just retailers, district attorneys, our allied agency partners, with stakeholders across the state. We are committed to putting an end to these theft rings throughout California and prosecute these individuals for the retail theft crimes. And lastly, before I close, I wanted to say something to the public as well. Perhaps you may find yourself at a convenience store and you're witnessing retail theft from occurring. The best advice I can give the public would be this: to be a good witness, to call your local law enforcement agencies, to get a hold of the store managers, store business owners, and that's the best you can do. That's to be a good witness, and you're going to help us by prosecuting these individuals. These individuals need to be held accountable. They need to be arrested and need to spend time behind bars. I'm going to turn it over to Captain Clays here in a minute. We can answer some questions for you if it's related to the CHP's operations globally across the state. I can answer those questions. If you have questions related specifically to the operation in the Central Valley over the weekend, specifically in Fresno and Kern counties, Chief Ellison will be able to answer those questions for you. Thank you.
All right, like the Commissioner mentioned, we have time for a few questions. Additionally, at the conclusion of the press conference, we'll have additional opportunity to speak individually with the presenters here today. So with that, we'd like to field any questions.
So people think of you guys, CHP, as patrolling the highways, keeping the roads safe, but the fact that you're able to do task force like this probably really greatly enhances the help that local law enforcement has, because this is obviously a real big problem in California.
Yes, sir. And I'll defer that question to Commissioner Ortiz.
So your question is related to the Highway Patrol's role and responsibility regarding retail theft and our collaboration with allied agencies, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. CHP is invested in so much in state security and providing that level of service. We're responsible for state assets across the state. So as I mentioned earlier, this is something that's so important that the governor made a direction to the CHP and to our commissioner for us to be involved in the lead and provide services through creating task forces across the state to impact that. Part of that, how do we deal with that? We deal with it by having good communication with our allied agency partners, having an open communication with them, having proactive enforcement with them, and sharing information. That is the best way to manage retail theft at this time. So yeah, you're right. It's very important for us to have that relationship with allied agencies, and we do that across the state.
Another follow-up question, I don't know if you can answer this. Of the nearly 1,300 people that have been arrested, is this a first time for many of these folks, or are they repeat offenders?
It's across the board. It really is. Some of these people are repeat offenders. Some people have warrants for their arrests after they were being arrested. And what we've learned, and what I think it's safe to say, that all these individuals are local. For instance, the operation, and then maybe Chief Ellison can touch on this a little bit, over the weekend here in the Central Valley, again, in those two counties, that's Fresno County and Kern County, all the people that were arrested were from the Central Valley. They're not necessarily coming from.
Yeah, it sounds like a Bay Area mob.
Yeah, no, this operation, what we saw was local individuals who were arrested and booked for these crimes. They were from the Central Valley.
And these people are taking large amounts. It's not like, because we've seen the stories where folks, whatever, take $500 worth of stuff, and then, employees are just told to let them go. They're walking out with thousands and thousands of dollars.
Absolutely. You can see behind me the display of some of the items that were taken. Look at this. We have a generator here. Look how large that even was, that item. And others, televisions and large items. And they're just taking them without regard. And that has to come to a stop. Enough is enough. I think the public expects law enforcement to hold people accountable. That's the mission. That's the direction that the governor has given the Highway Patrol. We're going to follow that. And we're going to lead from front. And we're going to have holding people accountable by arresting them and providing solid cases so that they are prosecuted at the local level.
Is that a strain on your resources, though, when you have so much sign shows and speed meters and things like that out there? Is that stress the CHP to have to do this mission?
We're a large agency. It's a good question. Is it a stress on the department with staffing and when you have sideshow activity and retail theft? The Highway Patrol has always been a fantastic organization, the lead law enforcement agency, in my opinion. I'm a little biased with that. I've been a member of the department for 29 years. But what I can tell you is that we're a large department, and we have a lot of fantastic investigators who are committed to making a difference, and we have the capabilities of following this direction and having an impact on retail theft and sideshow activity. So yes, we were able to do that.
And this is the governor funding you guys to be able to do that too, right? He's really made it a priority to say we need to do something about this.
It's important to the Governor Newsom, no doubt about that. So he's, through legislation and resources have been provided to the CHP, and as I mentioned, to the local agencies as well. $85 million is a high figure, and the specific purpose of this is to target retail theft. So as I mentioned, for the Highway Patrol, the goal was, and the direction we given by the governor was to have retail theft crime teams across the state, and that's what we've done. We're doing it, and these investigators are highly trained. They're doing fantastic work.
And I don't know if you can even answer this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Because of the way the laws have been set up and kind of how retail theft has been treated under a certain amount, do you think that's kind of, emboldening folks to say, well, we can get away with this, we're going to try and take more?
Well, are we the way the laws have been set up is what you're asking, and is it easy for the criminals to not be charged? What was your question?
Well, we know that folks have been taking stuff because there really is no repercussion under a certain amount, and so now they're just deciding, hey, nobody's messing with us for this amount. Let's see what else we can get.
No repercussions for the crimes that are committed. In law enforcement, we have a mission. Okay, the mission is to fulfill the laws that have been passed. The legislature's passed laws to hold these people accountable, and that's what our job is to do. That's what the Highway Patrol's job is to do. That's what Chief Ellison and his team are doing. And we're not going to look like, well, are they going to be prosecuted or not? If they're in violation, we're going to arrest them. We're going to put the case together, and we're going to make sure that they do our best so that they get prosecuted. That's why it's really important to have these great communication and relationships with the district attorneys. We have 58 district attorneys across the state of California, and so many of them are doing fantastic work here in the Central Valley. There's strong support and cooperation with the law enforcement agencies, and it needs to be a team effort. Any other questions on that?
How did you know that these groups were going to be there in the Blitz?
How do we know they were going to be there?
Yeah.
I'll leave that to Chief Ellison to have him answer your question.
Thank you. Now, your question, how did we know they were going to be there for the Blitz? It's through just collaboration with allied agencies and investigators really looking at all the information that's available to them to try to focus on where the suspects will be. It's kind of a moving target sometimes, but they really do a great job in using all the intelligence that's available to them.
Did you get any sort of like tips or is it all from the public?
Not tips, but we work very closely with the retailers, and that's the key, right? The relationships we have with the retailers, they really provide that insight to what's going on inside the stores, and they're big box retailers, right? They're pretty big stores for the most part that we try to go focus on. If we use their intel to help us craft what our plan's going to be, and it's pretty successful doing it that way.
And do you believe that penalties for shoplifting are big enough to deteriorate to stop people from doing this type of crime?
You know, kind of like what Commissioner Ortiz said, if you break the law, we're going to, do our job, right? If you find yourself in that situation, you're going to go to jail. Everybody that was arrested this weekend, they went to jail. And so that's how you deter that, right? If the feeling is that you're going to get away with something, that's not going to happen in these operations. You're going to go to jail if you are in that situation.
And I think that's kind of the misnomer that's been out there in the public. People think, oh, well, they're just shoplifting. Nothing's really going to happen to them. As far as it goes for you guys, if there's any sort of crime, whether it be $10 or it's $10,000, you guys are still going to do your job.
We're going to do our job. That's correct. And I think that what you see on TV, the aggressiveness and the brazen tactics that are utilized, that's we're not going to stand for that. We're going to meet that head on, and we're going to, like I said a minute ago, if you find yourself in this situation, we're going to take you to jail because that's what the law requires.
Are you focused on trying to go after these flash mob style robberies, or just people who are loading a cart full and trying to walk through?
I don't think we focus on one individual group. We let the operation kind of dictate that, but where there's the highest incidence of theft, we're going to focus on those areas with our ally agency partners and kind of focus and put a plan together to address that. It's kind of a moving target, though. It does happen a lot of different places, but with the intel and again with the relationships we have internally with the retailers themselves, that really helps, knowing when they occur, how they occur, what are the items of choice, so to speak, that you can see up here. That's kind of what our focus is.
And obviously the response
one more question, and then we'll have time for side interviews.
The response has been probably favorable for not only retailers, but I would imagine from local law enforcement that's already busy doing 10 million other things.
Yeah, the thing is, especially, statewide, and I'm the commander of this division, we work really closely with our ally agency partners. The ally agencies really work alongside us, and so it's kind of a force multiplier to be out there together, and as well as the DAs. That it's a collaborative effort to get everybody moving in the same direction. So we have a really good team down here, all across the board, and that's why we're having a lot of success right now. So
is there anything about California laws that kind of hold you guys back?
hold us back? I don't think so. I mean, we're out there, and this is the mission, and we're focused on the mission, and I don't really see that as an issue, but we're just, we're focused on that mission. I don't think the laws really are something that, we're not lawmakers, so we don't really focus on that. We just focus on the mission and try to do our best job there.
Yeah, and I was wondering, these products belong to stores, and I'm assuming that some of them are even purchased too. What type of protocols are being put into place to make sure that these items are returned to the respective stores or to the purchasers as well?
Lots of times, with coordination with the retailers, we can seize the evidence right there and get that evidence or the product right back to the retailer, so they're not out that product. Minimizes the loss. And that's part of that collaborative effort. So that's what we try to do.